Awesome. So we got a little treat here today. We got Casey Miller. She is the CEO, operator, coach at Thriving On. She's been in the online space for much longer than me. So excited to have her here. I saw her on stage at Coaching Con, and she had an awesome story. And what she wants to talk to you guys today about is building that bridge or connecting that bridge between knowing what to do and actually doing it. So Casey, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what to expect today.
Yeah. Well, first off, my name is Casey Miller. You already did a really great introduction, but 100%, I'm the CEO of Thriving On, which is an online functional based nutrition fitness coaching company. I originally got into the fitness world because of my own struggles. I always joke about this. The reason why I'm here and running Thriving On and helping hundreds of people all over the world is because of how much I personally have screwed up in my own journey. I was just talking about this with a client yesterday where she was like, I've only lost 20 pounds in like 9 months. And I'm like, it took me freaking 10 years to get here. Like, stop complaining. No, I didn't say that, but it's like realistically, a lot of times nutrition coaches get into this because they had their own personal journey of struggle and they see themselves in other people and they just want to help other people avoid the same mistakes as they did and go through the same turmoil. Yeah. Like, it's like, hello, like every single coach is like that. I've coached a couple of therapists. And they're like 100%, usually like therapists or coaches or anybody that goes in a position of helping others, they see themselves in other people. And that's exactly what happened to me. I struggle with an eating disorder majority of my life. I also had severe body dysmorphia. I was borderline alcoholic when I was in college. I was in an abusive relationship. I was in a deep pit of anxiety and depression, hanging around the wrong type of people. Like I was just in a very, very dark place in life with no direction, no drive, no nothing. Gave my family a couple scares along the way. So much so that like my dad, my number one hero, is like, either you're going to jail or you change. Like, I don't know what else to do. And that was the kick in the butt that I needed to get started. It's unfortunate that most people have to hit rock bottom before they decide to make change. And I was unfortunately one of those people. And by just being hit rock bottom, I became more open to creating change, I guess you would say. And because I was just tired of letting everybody down. Like my journey of getting into the fitness and nutrition wasn't because I wanted boys to like me or anything like that. I was literally, I realized what I was doing to myself was affecting everybody around me. And I was going a dark path. And if I kept making the choices I was making, if I was kept treating myself poorly and not showing myself self-respect and having higher standards in life, I was not going to go down the right path. Right. And so I decided to make change. And one of the first changes I made was through fitness, just being surrounded by the right type of people. I strongly believe this to my core. One of the best investments that you can ever make in life is who you surround yourself with. Take a look at your community, take a look at your family, your significant other, your coaches, mentors, all of those. If you can surround yourself with the right type of people that truly support you, want the best for you and push you to grow, it will fast track your life like no other. And that's what happened to me. I started doing cool things in the gym, which later led me to become a full-time weightlifter where I got to travel all over the United States and compete for Team USA. Like once, it's really not as cool as it sounds, but like it
sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was nothing like I didn't like get the USA like singlet and win like a big gold medal or anything like that. It was just like a meet, but being able to represent Team USA is like pretty freaking cool to say. So that was awesome. But the biggest change in my life through getting into fitness and also later on into nutrition was the mental side of things. Like it finally gave me courage to make the right choices. It finally gave me courage to stop hanging around the wrong type of people. It finally gave me courage to get out of that abusive relationship and take steps that typically would scare the shit out of me. Right? It's change is scary for everybody. The unknown, the uncertainty. What does this mean for me? What adversity will I have to face in that journey that I just don't know what's going to happen? And through fitness, it gave me the courage to do so. And it completely changed my life for the better. and like led me to wanting to be a coach, which later on knew I had to get into the nutrition side of things, but through my own journey, like it was not a good scenario. Usually when you go and pay somebody to teach you how to like learn about nutrition fitness, you're supposed to be getting better both mentally and physically, but that was not what I was getting. No matter where I went or how much money I spent when I first started my journey, guys, like we didn't have the coaches we have today. And even so, there are a lot of really great coaches out there, but like I bet me and you can agree that like there's just not enough. There
Yeah.
really isn't. But when I started, there was a lot less. And I just got surface level bullshit. Like, here's your macros, here's some meal prep, like meal prep ideas, here's like some workouts you could possibly do. And like what we talked about before going live, typically people are in this situation where they feel stuck. They feel like they're not aligned with their best self. They're making the poor choices for themselves and they just don't know why. There's that disconnect of I know what I need to do, but I just don't do it, is because what's going on between the ears and getting on beyond the surface level bullshit of macros and all that stuff. You're not here because you don't know the perfect macro breakdown or you don't have the perfect fitness program. It's something deeper than that. And so I was, yeah, like I was looking for something beyond the surface level, and that's all I got. No matter how much money I spent or who I went to, what names were like really big in the industry when I first started, it was the same thing. So as I was progressing, I progressively got worse than when I started. My eating disorder tendency started coming back. My mindset started getting worse. Body dysmorphia was getting worse. Even if I was getting 6-pack abs, like I still hated the person that I looked in the mirror. And I'm currently in a position where I'm spending thousands of dollars in hormonal medication to fix what my coaches did to me, because they had no idea what was going on when it came to hormonal health and pushing our body to the max and all that stuff, because I was a full-time athlete and I was making weight, and it was just putting me in so much stress hormonally that it just wrecked me, and my body was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Thriving On is literally built off of my whole journey of becoming a coach is built off of me just getting pissed off about what's going on in the fitness industry, where they're not here to actually help us. They're just here to make money off of us.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do something about it. So like our mission statement with Thriving On is we're just here to give people the education services they deserve to get beyond the surface level bullshit and like actually realize this is people's livelihoods. It's not just affecting how they look, it's affecting how they think, how they perceive life, how they live their life. Every single big goal that they have, they're the foundation to everything that they achieve, and the foundation to them is how they treat their body and mind. And if we truly want to get people to go from surviving to thriving, we've got to get beyond the surface level bullshit and take this seriously. And that's what we do, and that's why I'm here today.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much. That was such a good, like, all-encompassing, like, importance of why we're here, like, importance of you and your journey and what you can ultimately bring to the table. I kept on thinking, honestly, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I didn't even know what a nutrition coach was. I was an in-person personal trainer for over a decade. I was in a job that I wasn't happy with, wasn't fulfilled with at all anymore. And I was literally going to open my own gym and like build myself a really expensive, probably low performing job for the rest of my life. And luckily I passed the precision nutrition certification on the same day. My other coach, Haley, passed it. And I reached out like, oh my God, what are the odds? And then she's like, actually, I've been doing this for a while. So we kind of traded services and she started coaching me. And the first call we had, I'm like, oh, cool. She's gonna like help me with what to eat. Like I've always kind of been curious. I've tried keto, I've done carnivore, I've done like intermittent fasting for 4 years. I did the bulletproof diet, like Tim Ferriss, the slow carb, like no carb. Like I've done all these like things and nothing like quote unquote worked. Like I also wrestled in high school for a little bit and I could get down to any weight that I wanted, but staying there was impossible. Yep. And day one, I got on the phone with Haley and she asked me about, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate like your financial relationship, your relationship with your wife, your relationship with exercise and fitness? How would you rate your like nutrition of where it's at right now? Like, and add 8 of these questions. And, you know, scale 1 to 10, it's real simple. Like, oh, 10 out of 10, 3 out of 10. And she gave me an overall score. She's like, this is your life. Do you think we should focus on exercise and nutrition, things like that you're not really that bad at? Or do you think we should focus on like your relationships? And I'm like, wait, no, like we just did this nutrition thing. Let's just do it. And like, we started talking about that stuff right away. I'm like, oh man. And then those are the connecting dots that really got me to like, it's not all macros and nutrition. It's those relationships that you have. And I think that's what kind of opened my eyes. Like, I think I could do this. And then connected with NCI through Mind Pump a little bit. And like, wait, they actually teach you exactly how to do this. And I'm like, this is exactly what you're talking about. Like coaches that I feel like we're missing wasn't just, oh, like, you know, like a serving of proteins the size of your palm or a serving of veggies the size of your fist. Like that's great information. And we were talking about this before we recorded, was we're in the age of information. So it's not having the information. You're saying between the years is where we got to go. If we want to fix this for the long term, like the long haul, the long term.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Like, I think that's one of the root causes. There are many different root causes as to why people aren't seeing the results that they're looking for, whether they do see quote unquote results, but then they gain it back and then some, which isn't results. That's just literally yo-yo dieting. Or just people are just being met with extreme amount of resistance. Sometimes it is physiological things. They're just not doing the right things for them. But a lot of times it's also stemmed from what's going on in between the ears. And if we truly want this for life, we've got to get to the root cause as to why you're here. And just like your coach did, is like something that I've learned over a period of time. Like we specialize in stressed people or busy people, because like we're here just to help people win. But majority of the people coming into our door, the reason why they're not seeing results is due to the massive amount of stress that's in their life, right? Whether it's physiological stress of like under eating or overeating or not sleeping or not drinking enough water or all these different things, or it is psychological stress, relationship with food, or they've broken their promises to themselves so many times with yo-yo dieting. They have so much pressure on themselves. They don't believe themselves. All these different things are compiling and working against them. And so like what I'm trying to bring to is that, like, if we're not getting to the root cause as to why you're here, like relationship with food or relationship with your significant other. Like I was literally just on a call with somebody doing like a walkthrough as to, she's like, I just don't know why. I know what to do. I just don't know why. And so I jumped on a call and did a little bit of like a mindset, like reset with her. And the root cause that we came to was that she was going out and drinking. She was making these choices that don't align with herself and what she wants, due to her relationship with her significant other. She was running away from it. And I was like, babe, like, you know what to do. You're a hard worker. You have this in every other aspect of your life. And you've been with me long enough that I know that if you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it. So it's not a matter of if you want this. It's not a matter of if you're capable of doing it. It is a matter of you are running away from what's actually happening. And you're coping with those problems through drinking, through hanging out with people that don't serve you, through like other things that she was doing that was moving her away. And I was like, in order for you to actually get to making change and getting to the life and the body that you want, you have to take a step back and address the shit that's actually happening. You can't keep fucking running away from it. You got to be what I call the bison, right? Which it's a common analogy that I use a lot, is like the bison or the cow. Like when a storm is coming, the cow will run away from the storm, and cows are really slow and they can't outrun a storm. So they prolong their pain, versus the bison, they run head first towards the storm because they know that they will shorten their pain by addressing it head on. And I was like, you're the cow right now. You need to be the fucking bull. You're a bull and everything else in life, but you're being a cow in this relationship thing. And she's like, oh shit. Oh, okay. I'll go home and I'll fix it. I'm like, exactly. Once you fix that, then everything else will get fixed. Like those are the conversations, just like your coach had that conversation, is like, do you want to talk about this, or do we actually want to talk about why you're actually here? Like that's the shit that we need to be talking about with our clients. That's the shit that people deserve.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's the whole reason why we're here. And a lot of times people really do believe that their issue is lack of discipline. Which it can be, but I think that people have a perception of what discipline is, and it's 100% not that. And that's why they're not disciplined in the first place. So that's why what we're going to be going over today.
Yeah. I love the idea of just self-integrity, like just saying what you're going to do and then following through. And it doesn't have to be like, I need to be in the gym 7 days a week. I need to hit my calories perfectly every day. It's like being aware, like having a goal, having an idea, and then falling within these healthy boundaries for yourself is kind of like how I would put it. But also I got in trouble with my mom because I'm like, hey, mom, give yourself a little grace. You're so hard on yourself. But at some point, when you keep giving yourself too much grace, you can't expect change. Yeah. So that integrity is like, all right, I'm going to do this. I know it's going to be healthy. I'm going to move in the right direction. I'm going to focus on the things that are going to move it. I'm going to face it head on like the bull. I love that analogy. Definitely taking that. So if you're a client now, you're going to hear this talk soon, I'm sure.
Be the bison.
But having that self-integrity. So what do you feel
Yeah.
is the difference between the discipline of what people expect and then the discipline of what they actually need to see progress?
Yes, yes. Which I love how you're like talking about like understanding and all this stuff, which I will actually get into a little bit different, like a little bit later, because that is actually a key trait of disciplined people. And I would actually like to say compassion. We'll get into that a little bit later, but that's a really good point right there. But the big difference between disciplined people, like what people think is discipline and what actually is discipline, is this. People think that being disciplined is like, I just need to want it more. I need to work harder. I need to white knuckle through things. They think disciplined people as like David Goggins and things like that, which I mean, in itself, they are quite disciplined. They show up despite not wanting to do it. But everybody has this perception is I just need to try harder. Like I need to just like more. But here's the thing is that is actually a key trait of people that fall off all the time, because you cannot be conscious of every little thing. You can't white knuckle your way through life. It doesn't work that way. You will burn out mentally. And a lot of times because of that perception of stress, physiologically, you're going to start burning out as well, because your body doesn't determine psychological stress or physical stress. Like stress is stress, and it'll compile, and both mentally and physically you're going to burn out. So that is not the answer, right? If you guys listening have never read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, phenomenal book. It is a wonderful start in learning how to build sustainable habits and create that quote unquote discipline. Yes, it's right there. Like I have it in my bedroom right now. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. It is very, very easy for you to read. It is like, honestly, no matter what level that you are at, if you haven't read it, it's phenomenal. And in that book, he writes it beautifully. Disciplined people are actually really, really quite lazy. Really, really quite lazy. That's like one of the key traits of disciplined people is they try to find ways on how to make it stupid easy to make the decisions they need to be making, because to its core, when you look at how we think, human behavior and creating behavior change, in order for you to create change, the feeling of pain of staying the same needs to be greater than the change, if that makes sense, right? Like I'm feeling this pain of staying the same, right? Like I don't feel aligned with who I am. I know I need to be healthier. I need more energy to play with my kids. I need to work on my internal health, so I make sure that I live a long, healthy life, and maybe have like better sex with my significant other, because like everybody deserves that. It's a really key trait. Like people giggle about that, but that's actually a really key trait of having a very healthy life. But the perception of change is scary for them. There's more friction on this side. Right. So basically disciplined people are like, okay, how do I create less friction on this side so it's easier for me to make the decision to create change? Right. So that's one of the key traits of disciplined people. There's a few other things which I will go into, but let's dive into that a little bit more. Let's give a couple examples. So for example, for me, I am trying to wake up earlier, right? Waking up early, there's a lot of friction. I don't like the feeling of it. Like I like my sleep and all those things, but I know for a fact, if I wake up earlier, I will be less stressed. When I am rushed in the morning, the whole day is feeling that feeling of rushed, right? And so I need to wake up earlier. I need to get into that routine, but there's a lot of friction because I don't like doing it, even though I know I need to do it, right? That disconnect. So what can I do to help create less friction? Okay. One, so one of the things that I can change is, instead of having my alarm in my bedroom, I will have my alarm into the living room. Okay. So when I have to turn off the alarm, there's less friction for me to want to go back to bed. I'm up already. It's easier for me to decision. Yeah. Okay.
Have you ever changed your alarm clock, by the way?
Yes.
Like, do not have that. I hate that thing. That is like traumatic for me when I was in high school. To like wake up like football or like a tea time that's early. Like 100%. I have this, like amazing like piano playing in the background, and it starts so quiet, it gets like louder. Like if you have an alarm clock like that, that's one small thing, like that friction, because like waking up in that hyper aware, like I need to go right away state or I'm
Mhm.
late compared to
Everybody
like
thinks it's better
ease
for
into
you.
this.
Yeah,
No,
everybody thinks it's better for you, but you're creating more friction. You hate
yeah,
feeling that feeling. You're like, scared.
exactly.
There's
Good
these
point.
alarms that you can buy on Amazon that turn on like the sunlight,
Like a
right?
glow,
And
yeah.
it naturally wakes you up, and it's actually a great experience. There's also beds that you like, a bed covers that you can buy that's really cold for you to fall asleep to, but when you set your alarm, it'll naturally start warming it up to wake you up
Yeah,
naturally. So it's a wonderful experience. So these are ways to create less friction,
yeah,
right? Some other ways that you can create less friction to help you make those changes. One of the most impactful things, like I was talking about before, is your environment, right? Who and what you surround yourself with. We know this when we get part of a community, whether it is a community within our coaching groups, whether it is a gym community, whether it's getting a new friend group that serves you more, right? Or we know this, if we want to be more more financially wealthy, hang out with wealthy people. If you want to be fitter, hang out with fitter people. Like, it helps bring you up, because the way that the brain works, we conform. Whether you want to fight it or not, it's what we do, because back in caveman days, we thrived in packs. And if we did not conform just for survival, we would kick out people that were not like us, because
hmm
we needed to survive. We needed to work together, and people that work together survive more, right? And so, like in our lizard brain, we conform. So you are the average of who you hang out with. Take a look at who you hang out with. Are you surrounding yourself with people that drink on the weekends, make you feel like shit when you want to like eat vegetables, right? Or things like that. Or are you hanging out with people that are like, fuck yeah, let's go. Like, I'm
yeah.
so excited for you. You want to take care of yourself. That's amazing.
Or who are
Right?
you
Like,
following? Like your Instagram feed. Like when
yes.
you're going through that, it's like it's such a subconscious thing. But like I always look at my wife's just because I'm curious. I'm like, what do you look at all the time when you're like
Mm-hmm.
scrolling? And it's like, if it's like the housewives or like these super high stress people, or
Mm-hmm.
is it like fresh ingredients that you're looking up? Are you looking up like fun recipes to do? Are you looking up like fun
100%.
activities? Like she's got an amazing feed of like how to raise children, like psychological
Mm-hmm.
things. I'm like, oh, this is really good. And no
100%.
wonder when people ask her like about her opinion on this, she's like super well known, because she's always, when she's like doing it at work or when she's doing it at home, that's
Mm-hmm.
what her kind of expertise is. Mine right now is literally how to get better at golf, because I'm trying to get better at golf. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's fitness people and like my friends in this community. So like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, people are like, how are you so motivated all the time? Like I'm constantly getting fired up every time. Like
Yeah.
I got a 20-minute break or a 10-minute break. Like that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing. I'm thinking about my content all the time that I'm putting out there. What is going to help people? What is like the right messaging?
Mm-hmm.
I recently reached out to like a group of friends that are like, just they're successful people. So we hang out more often online, which is amazing. Like take advantage of this online space. Like we just
Mm-hmm.
meet in Zoom every other Tuesday, and just talk about our work life, family, and where we are not getting support. And I've
Exactly.
never had a group of guy friends that would ever even open up to that.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about like how to be a better husband? No, let's just go to the bar and get drunk and like, talk about old times. Like, let's talk about high school
Exactly.
days. Like,
Mm-hmm.
well, high school is my least favorite time of my life,
Yeah.
borderline. So
Yeah.
why do I want to keep going back to that? Like, I don't. But
Mm-hmm.
talk about conforming. That's who I surrounded myself with for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like uncomfortable, like that, talked about that friction before. Like it was, the pain of change was scarier than like the discomfort of where I was. But that
Yeah.
also led me stuck for like a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Like a really, really powerful thing is paying attention to who you surround yourself with. Like, my circle of friends is very, 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 very small. I'm very picky about who I bring in. And it's not out of it's not out of like, I'm better than other people or anything like that. It's just like, I am very picky because I know that I will conform to the people around me, and I know that I deserve to have the best life that I want. And I have a say in who comes in that circle. And it's not being disrespectful to anybody. If anything, it's showing more self-respect to me. And like the same thing with social media. I love that you brought that up. A lot of times people demonize social media. It's an easy scapegoat of like, oh, social media is the cause as to why I have poor mental health. It's evil. It's the devil. We should just cancel it all. It's not. It is a tool just like anything else, like a hammer. You can use it to build a beautiful house or tear it down. It is not the hammer's fault. That doesn't make logical sense. It is how you are using it. So like you said before, who are you following? Like, when you see people that are disciplined, they don't waste their time on shit that takes away from what's truly important to them, whether it's their family or things like that. They're following things that add value to their life. Yeah. Right. You can, if you're trying to create a better relationship, there's so many relationship like people online that are giving free information out there that is ready for you to absorb. Like if you want to learn more about mindset, there are people with PhDs, literally their whole life is dedicated to learn more about mindset. That's what you'll see on my feed, is a lot of mindset, a lot of relationship, personal growth, fitness, things like that. So who and what you surround yourself with, but let's take it back and make it really simple, right? Like your environment, your kitchen. What's in your kitchen, right? An easy way to create less friction, mindlessly make change, which comes from a book. This comes from a book that I read a while back, and forgive me, I don't remember the person that wrote it, but it's a phenomenal book. It's called Mindless Eating Solutions. Okay. And so basically this gentleman was paid by high-level executives and entrepreneurs, and also like restaurants, especially buffet style restaurants, to come in and set up the environment to make it stupid easy for you to eat less. Because buffets, if you think about it, if you set up in a specific way, if you are subconsciously eating less, it's going to cost them less, and they save a significant amount of money. And then you're working with a lot of like high-level CEOs that don't have a lot of time on their hands, and they can't always track their food. They need help making mindless decisions. So he literally came in and he completely redid their kitchen, completely redid it. And some of the key things that he did is like, one, he addressed what you put on your countertops, right? There's a rule in my house. If I sees it, I eats it. And that's pretty much everybody's rule, right? If you see it over and over and over again, you get reminded and you think about it more and more and more, you're more likely to eat it. So if you're somebody that has a bunch of cookies and chips and all these different snacky things and like big old bowl of nuts, which nuts aren't bad, but they're really, really high in calories and really, really easy to overeat. Like if you're surrounding yourself by doing that and making it stupid easy for you to make those decisions, it's going, your body and your decisions and your habits are going to reflect that. But if you're like, hey, like I'm trying to eat more fruits and vegetables, and you put a big basket of fruits on your countertop, and then at eye level in your fridge with a clear container so you can see it every single day, that's already pre-chopped vegetables. So it's stupid easy for you to grab it and go. You're far more likely to make those decisions. It becomes mindless. You don't have to use so much brain power. You just do it.
You're reducing the friction.
Exactly, right? The power of change. If you want to create change to its core, you have to make less friction for yourself to create the change than it is to stay the same. So how can you work smarter, not harder? How can you make this easier on you? How can you be as lazy as possible and still make the choices? Another thing that you can think about is like macros. Something that I talk about with a lot of people is like macros. Yes, it is the optimal way to track your food and really make sure that you're getting enough micronutrients and macronutrients and things like that. But for a lot of people, macro counting is a lot of friction. I'll be 100% honest with you. I freaking hate macro counting. I do it as least amount as possible, probably once a year for maybe 2 months max. I hate it. Okay. I know it is optimal. I know I am going to create change faster if I did it, but it makes me fucking miserable. And I don't have that kind of time in the day to be, well, like I could make that time, but I just don't. Right. And I don't get brownie points for doing something that makes it extremely hard when I can still see results when I do things like flexible tracking. Right. Or there's some of our clients that literally just start with, let's just track how much protein you're eating. Let's just try to get 600 to 800 grams of fruits and vegetables. And all of a sudden, with other key things that we're working on, they lose 10 pounds. Right. The trait of a really great coach is how easy can you make it on your clients to create change, because that is the principle. If you make less friction, they're more likely to create that change, enjoy the process, and do it for life. Right. So that's a big thing that a lot of people don't understand. A big principle of being disciplined is they're not white knuckling through things. They don't have an ungodly amounts of willpower to get things done. In actuality, they have the same amount of willpower as anybody else out there. They just work stupid easy. They're trying to find ways to make it easier on themselves, whether it's like Hey, like I'm trying to take medication and my supplements and I'm very freaking forgetful. I'll be honest with you. You know what I do? I put reminders on my phone. I put two in the morning, two at night, because I know I'll turn off that first one and I'll completely forget. And so I have a second one. I'm not white knuckling through things. I'm using an automated system to remind me so I don't have to think about it so much.
Yeah.
Right. That's a really key trait of disciplined people. Right.
You
And
just see my Google Calendar. I have like literally walk in there, 15-minute walks. I do 3 a day just to make sure like I don't sit in at my chair all day. I had to schedule like lunch. Like, all right, when am I going to fit in like a 15-minute gap to go upstairs and just eat? It's upstairs. Like I already made it. Like I know what I'm going to have today. But some days like I would just go and like, oh shit, it's like 3 o'clock and I got to go eat. Now I'm actually hungry. But like setting yourself up for success, like sometimes it might seem obvious, but take that one step, schedule it. I'd love that.
Yeah, exactly. Like time blocking is phenomenal. Like a lot of people don't make change, or they get stuck because they feel overwhelmed. Well, there's no such thing as feeling overwhelmed. It's just lack of clarity. If you were just told what to do, most people are like, yeah, if you tell me what to do, I'll just do it. Okay, cool. So you're not overwhelmed, you lack clarity. So time blocking is a really great way to create clarity. You have your to-do list. You literally just have to wake up and look at your calendar and it tells you what to do. So you're no longer overwhelmed. You just do the things you need to be doing. That's like another key trait of a disciplined person. But let's go into a few other things, because that being disciplined is more than just that. Far more than just that. We are very dynamic human beings. It's far more complicated than just that, right? So some key other traits of disciplined people is, one, they realize that motivation is not what drives them. Okay. And I know I know everybody's going to be like, you're just going to be another fitness douchebag that's going to say, hey, it's not about motivation. It is about discipline. And you just need to rely on discipline. And people are like, I get that, but what the fuck does that mean? Like, I don't get it. Like,
I said it. I said it.
Yes. Yes. And I used to say it too. And it's like, when you really think about it, it's like, you are disciplined in other areas. Being a parent, you have to be significantly disciplined to do that. Right. There's other people, like we were like high level, like entrepreneurs and CEOs and other people like that, and doctors and lawyers and nurses. Like, you are extremely disciplined. You are extremely intelligent. Things like that is not a matter of if you are disciplined or not. It's like, okay, motivation, breaking it down. There's a couple of researches coming out. It's really, really interesting. There's different perspectives of motivation and how it affects us. There's some research that say motivation is just a fleeting feeling that we only feel for at max 15 minutes. Right. And then there's other research showing that we are always motivated. It just is a matter of, what are we motivated to do? Are you motivated to go on a run, or are you motivated to sit on the couch? No matter how you view it, we can realize that we can't rely on motivation. Now, motivation, we don't need to demonize it and be like, motivation sucks. No, motivation is still a helpful tool. But an analogy that I just heard that was beautifully said is like you're going on a run. Okay. And when you go on a run, sometimes the wind comes in and either it blows on you and cools you down, it helps you keep going, or it comes in, it pushes you a little bit and it gives you a little momentum. And you're like, oh, I don't have to work so hard. Okay. They're welcomed. But is it a constant expectation of you running? No. So when it comes, we use it to our advantage, but we don't rely on it. We rely on putting one foot in front of the other and keep going. Right. So yes, motivation is great, but it's definitely not something that we want to rely on all the time, but use it when you have it.
Yeah, I love that.
So what do we use then? What is the vehicle that we use to create discipline, put one foot in front of the other, like running? So some common traits is like, one, less friction. We were talking about that before. Two, when you look at disciplined people, they have this trait called high self-efficacy. Self-efficacy, just bringing it down really simple, is the belief that you are going to, you're willing to, and you want to do something, like create a change, right? Like high self-efficacy is like, I want to go on a 5K run. I'm going on a 5K run this Saturday. Guys, by the way, this is my first 5K run. I'm a lifter. I'm not a runner. Like, I'm working on that, right? So there's a lot of friction. Right. And so I'm like, okay, I need self-efficacy. Like, I'm a disciplined person. I need self-efficacy. I am going to do it. And I want to do it. I want to challenge myself. And you best bet I'm going to show up on Saturday and I believe I'm going to get it done. No matter how hard it is, even if I have to walk, even if I have to crawl, I'm going to get it done. That is self-efficacy, right? But okay, so how do we create self-efficacy then? It's like, how do I create that belief? It's not just something that we can just poof have. Like, I'm not a fairy godmother and go poof, right? So what creates the self-efficacy? Well, the fuel of self-efficacy is the growth mindset, right? The belief that you are capable and you are worthy of change. A lot of times people just believe that they're not capable or worthy of it. I'm always going to be this person that's going to do this. Like, for example, you could see my fixed mindset coming in. I'm a weightlifter. I'm not a runner. That is creating awareness. Like, that is my fixed mindset coming in, fully owning my shit.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you believe and you are worthy of that change, that fuels the self-efficacy. But how do we create that belief that you are worthy and you are capable of that change? Well, first is just awareness. Like I was talking about before, I just created awareness of when my fixed mindset is coming in. If you don't know if something's happening, how do you know how to change it? Which can be like probably one of the most difficult steps that you can do, because you literally have to take a step back and own your shit. You have to put a figurative mirror in front of you and figure out when you are going into a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, which you want to make sure that you do both. Because like there's some areas where you're like, I have a wonderful growth mindset in my work life or in my parenting life. In nutrition fitness, though, not so much. And that's just being human, and that's okay. Right. And when we're creating awareness, we always want to take in this perspective, because a lot of times people will start beating themselves up about it. And that in itself will just like knock them down. So another key trait of a disciplined person is two things: is compassion, and also always being the student. Right. So like compassion part, compassion is understanding and realizing that you are basically a human being. Like, I'm paraphrasing it a bunch, but like compassion is just like understanding that you're a human being. It is not acceptance, right? Like, it's not like, hey, like I shoved a donut down my throat when I said I wasn't going to. I broke that promise to myself. I suck. And if I show myself compassion, I'm just accepting it. No, it's like, okay, dude, I'm a human being, and yeah, I fucked up, but like I fuck up all the time. What is the lesson that I can learn being a student? What is the lesson that I can learn right here? Why did I have that donut? Was it because I was stressed? Was it because I was tempted? It's like, okay, if I was stressed at that moment, I was emotionally eating, what can I do differently at that moment instead of emotionally eating and grabbing that donut? I could go on a walk, things like that. That's the conversation they're having in the brain. But a fixed mindset is a belief that they're incapable and unworthy. And they're like, oh, I just fucked up again. I suck. I don't deserve this. Things like that. Yeah, exactly. We all do. We all do. Like, I'm here talking about this shit and I'm struggling with it every single day. We're human. Compassion. But just because we have compassion doesn't mean that we're accepting it. We're always looking for ways to get better. This is actually something that the Navy SEALs are trained on to perform better, is how to give themselves compassion. Because when you think about it, when you don't have compassion for yourself, you just exacerbate the whole situation. I suck. I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. You're focusing on the emotions rather than adapting and adjusting. When you show compassion, then you are like, okay, like, I understand this happened. I need to adapt and adjust. What can I learn? I'm going to move the fuck on. But when you don't have that perspective, you blow it up. And that's all you think. For some people, hours, for some people, days, months on end, and some people, years. You need a high amount of compassion. You also need to be the student. A lot of people are stuck where they're at, and they're not willing to create change and ask for help that they need because their ego gets in the way. I'm too afraid to look stupid. I'm too afraid to ask for help. I'm too afraid to do this and that. Like, literally, I went on stage in front of thousands of people and owned my shit of my fixed mindset when it came to business. Like, guys just listening in, I jumped on stage and I talked about how much I screwed up because I wouldn't ask for help. My ego got in the way. And because of that, it affected me. It affected my marriage. It affected my business and everything because of my fixed mindset. Right. So it's like, we always need to be a student. We need to be willing to.
Sorry.
What?
No, I just want to build on that for a second because one, you need a sip of coffee, but two, man, I think you got to take a step back. Like, it's a skill.
Yeah.
And hey, like when I first started any skill in my life, I wasn't good at it, but you wanted to make that change. And the same thing when it comes to like the donut analogy. Well, if you have the fixed mindset, like, this is just what I do, I binge on donuts every Saturday morning because they're available. Like, well, what else could you do? And you put yourself like you just have to have one win. And you
Mhm.
build one strategy one time and follow through for yourself just once. And now you have a whole new skill set of things that you could do. So if you
Mhm.
struggle with emotional eating, like honestly, like right now, I'm a little sleep deprived, I'm tired, and we just went to a parade and there's just suckers and candy in the house. And the other day, I'm like, I just couldn't stop going back and like, because I was bored and like the kids were like asleep for the first time. I'm like, I just couldn't go back and forth. So like one time, I'm like, all right, well, what else could I do? I'm just gonna set a
Mhm.
timer, like a 5 minute timer. I'm gonna take a breath. I'm just gonna do some breath work and sit here and be
Yeah.
present. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Well, I had that one win. Well, now I can see the ball every day and I still
Mhm.
don't eat it because it's
Yeah.
like I have other things that I could be doing rather than just mindlessly eating. So that's like
Mhm.
a small thing, like small victory for Ryan, like the other day,
Yeah.
but also I never would have pointed that out in the past. I never would have been able to do that. It would just be there until it was gone. All right, cool.
Mhm.
I fixed that problem by finishing the bucket of candy.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
not going to get me where I want to be.
Yes. And that right there is like the next part is disciplined people use the skill called skill acquisition, right? Like I always talk about with my clients, I'm like, hey, do you want to be thinking about this shit all the time? Like super conscious about this all the time. And they're like, no, I don't want to track all the time. I don't want to be like super conscious about everything I put in my mouth. It's like, yeah, it sucks. Nobody wants that. Right. So another key trait of disciplined people is that they know that this whole thing is a skill that they have to learn. It's not something that they just do temporary. It is now part of who they are, like brushing your teeth. Okay. Like when you were young, your parents came in and they taught you how to brush your teeth and you had to think about it a lot. This is how we put toothpaste in there, blah, blah, blah. But then they also stayed in your corner until they knew that you were going to do it regularly. Right. And now today we don't even have to think about it. Like, do you brush your teeth when you're sad?
I do.
When you're mad?
I do.
When
Yes.
you're happy?
No matter what, just wake up and do
Yeah,
it.
like yeah, I mean, let's be real. Like, you don't brush your teeth every single day. We're not like perfect. We can't lie about that shit, but we do
Mhm.
it consistently enough to make sure that we don't have stinky ass breath and we stay out of the dentist as much as possible. Okay, well, we want to live a long, healthy life. We want to wake up confident in ourselves and feeling great and have enough energy and live our best life and do the things that we want. So how do we do this for life? How do we become that disciplined person that just does it? It's not willpower. It's not white knuckling. It is literally a skill that you build over a period of time that you create that skill acquisition, like brushing your teeth. So when people come in with a perspective of, oh, this is another quick fix. I'm going to do this peptide or this diet or this quick fix right here. You're not instilling the skill acquisition, right? You're just reinforcing the poor behavior pattern as to what, like that keeps reinforcing the yo-yo dieting cycle. So like disciplined people, they take a step back. They're the student, they're learning the skill. They know that they're going to get better over a period of time. Another analogy is like driving a car. Like when we were 16, we were, oh my God. Like, and if you're like me, like you also cried maybe a couple times. It wasn't a fun experience, but you kept doing it because you know for a fact that driving a car will help you get to point A to point B a lot faster. So you kept
Mhm.
going and you kept getting better over a period of time. And then from there, all of a sudden, now you don't even have to think about it. You just do it. It is a
Mhm.
tool that you can use for the rest of your life. But if you're beating yourself up, having unrealistic expectations of like, this should have happened in 2 months, should have had, it's just been so fucking easy in 2 months. It's like, dude, it takes us years to figure that out, but we still do it because we know it's worth it.
Mhm.
Right. So, like that skill acquisition, like very much like driving a car. How do you perceive nutrition fitness? Is it a quick fix or are you viewing it like driving a car? Like, yes, at first I'm going to have to think about it, but over a period of time, I'm going to create that skill acquisition. Now I don't even have to think about it. I just do it. That's why there's so many, like, there's not so many, there's actually a very, very small population of healthy people. And that's more of a reflection of our current society today. But like, honestly, nobody was teaching this shit when we were younger. Like we've just, like, I don't know about you, but I grew up on like McDonald's and Burger King and all things like that. Nobody talked about nutrition with us. But like, that's why there's some people that can just do it. They don't even have to think about it. It's just part of who they are because they created that skill acquisition, right? So you see how all these traits of disciplined people is not let me white knuckle myself through life. Let me just try harder. Let me think more. Let me want more. Let me punish myself more. It is literally how stupid easy can I make it to make the choices that I need to? And also help me create that skill acquisition. help me do this for life. Which brings me to the last thing that I will talk about today. There's other traits, but like the last thing that I will talk about today that I talk about a lot is, in order for you to want to do this for life, right? That self-efficacy that I will, and I want, and like things like that, you have to make sure that you are figuring out what serves you. Disciplined people don't give a shit about what other people are doing. I mean, they take it in perspective, they learn what they can take, but at the core, they're trying to figure out what works best for them. They don't fall for what Fitspo Jenny does or CrossFit Chad does online, because that's what works for them. Like I tell my clients, I'm not even gonna have you do what I do. It's not gonna work. You don't have the same preferences in food. You don't have the same lifestyle. I'm not a parent. I'm a dog mom. That's 10 times easier, right? Like I travel all the time. There's people that don't. Like when you take a step back and really obsess over, okay, these are the different things that other people are doing, and I'll pick and choose, but ultimately it's what serves me. I have like non-negotiables. Like for example, like I fucking love carbs, right? A lot of my parents are like, non-negotiable, whatever I do needs to lead by example to my kids, because I know they're little sponges of me. They will learn every single little thing that I do. So if I do something, I need to make sure that whatever they see, it's going to be good for them. Right. All these different non-negotiables that serve you, which is one of the first things I ask my clients is like, what are your non-negotiables? We need to know this. Otherwise, if you don't have that North Star, you will fall for anything and everything. And then from there, you're going to do things that don't serve you, you don't enjoy, doesn't fit into your lifestyle, creating a lot of friction, and you fall off. Right. So when you are becoming a disciplined person, yes, you try what other people do, but ultimately it's in the perspective of, I'm just trying to figure out what works best for me, because I know I'm not like nobody else, my preferences, my goals, or anything like that. And all of a sudden you stop falling for the diet culture bullshit that's out there, and you actually figure out what you can do for life, become that disciplined person that you want to become, that you just do. You have the skill acquisition. It becomes part of your identity. It adds value to your life. Right. So like, these are just a couple of the key traits of a disciplined person that I do talk about a lot with our clients when they are struggling with that gap of like, I know what to do, but I just don't do it.
I love that. I have my favorite thing to talk about is just decision making, and it all comes back to the North Star. I think it's like the same concept, just coming at it from a different angle. So like if I have to decide today between, ordering McDonald's or like having a salad, well, cool. Like, well, what is each one going to do? Yada, yada, yada. But my North Star right now is, like I said, I like to golf. I have 2 boys. Ideally, someday those boys will have children. And I want to be the grandpa to take my kids and my kids' kids golfing. Like I think that would be one of the most fulfilling things in my life that I could ever imagine. And maybe my wife's there too. I don't know. But I just think that would be like the coolest thing, because if I want to be active enough to swing a golf club, like go 18 holes golfing with them, I got to be in somewhat good shape. If I want to be alive, because like I had my first child at 30. So if he has his first child at 30, well, by definition, I have to be 60 years old and be able to golf. But then that child is a newborn at 30. So now actually I got to be 72 because he's 12 then, and doing the math, my North Star, I have to be healthy. I have to be active. I have to be mobile. I have to be alive. I can't be doing like stupid shit where the potential of dying goes up, like all these different things kind of come into my, so every decision that I make, is that going to get me there? Yes or no? And I think about that all the time. And I think that's another thing that a disciplined person does. Like they're just disciplined mentally to bring awareness to like that long-term vision, rather than like, I just need to eat vegetables. Why? Because my coach says I need to eat vegetables. Or like, I need to eat vegetables like for those macronutrients, for the fibers, so I feel good, so I can poop tomorrow. Like all those things kind of come up.
Yeah. Here's the thing is like all these different things, like what you're finding as your North Star, like you're finding these things that serve you, that add value to your life. Like there's so many people that are trying to hate themselves in the body and lifestyle that they want. That's what was me. Like I try to hate myself in there, but what you're finding is like, it's forms of self-love. Like you're literally just trying to set yourself up for success, to live the best life because you believe that you deserve it. There's so many people that would have that perspective. There's like, there's no way in hell that I could be 72 and golfing. There's no way. I just shouldn't try. Like that's the fixed mindset, but you have the growth mindset of like, no, I deserve that shit. Like I can totally do that. If I focus on myself right now, I could totally do that. The high amount of self-efficacy, that growth mindset that you can, and you're willing and you deserve to do that. Right. So that's a big thing. Go
I
ahead.
don't want to cut you off. I love this. I feel like I could talk about this all day, but I
Mhm,
don't want to keep it for like more than an hour. So I do have a
mhm,
question on Facebook here from Liz, and
mhm.
I think that you'd be a perfect person to answer this. So,
Yeah.
how do you push past a feeling of guilt, like letting go of old friends that have been there for you, like feel like family, but are making bad decisions, still doing the stupid things we did in our
Mm,
20s? I feel
mhm.
like I could go on about this, but I want to hear your perspective. So, how do you push
Ah,
past that
yeah.
that guilt of like, we talked about a little bit with your friend group, but be like, hey, these
Mhm,
friends are serving me, these friends aren't. Like my circle's got to shrink. But
mhm.
how do you have any other? I
Tips
hate
on
I
that?
hate saying tips and tricks, but
Like, how about I share my own experiences? Okay, so like when I was in a position of like being borderline alcoholic and all these things and making the wrong decisions, my whole friend group, like for me to change, I literally upped and moved like that. Cause I knew if I stayed around those type of people, like it wasn't helping. And so this is how you know if somebody is truly your friend is if you are thinking about making that transition of like possibly transitioning out of hang around certain people, first give them the opportunity to be a good friend. Right. A lot of times there's this lack of communication or like there's this disconnect between people because of lack of communication. You'll be surprised how bad we are as human beings at communication. I'm still learning on it. Right. Like, and if we've never taken a step back and actually communicated to somebody, hey, you know what? Like, I'm trying to drink less because I want more for myself. I know this isn't serving me. I know it's going to take me down a dark path. I'm just communicating with you that this is the decision that I'm going to be making. And I would love for you to be there and support me in any other way that you can. But like, this is the decision that I'm making for me. Okay. And then from there, you can determine whether or not that person's actually a good friend or not. If they're like, oh my gosh, I love that for you. Of course. How can I support you? You know what? I'm going to do that with you because like 100%, I agree. It's not helping me, right? Or are they like, come on, that's lame. Okay, if they have that reaction, they're not
yeah,
really your friend. So why are
that's
you worried about somebody that's not actually truly your friend? If they were truly your friend, they would want the best for you. They would want to support you and things like that. So that eliminates the guilt right there. The second thing is that you have two choices in life. Two choices: stay the same or change. If you keep making the same choices, right? If you keep doing the same things, hanging around the same people, you will be stuck or progressively get worse. That's what happened to me. I progressively got worse over and over and over. And I kept making these decisions. My borderline alcoholism got bigger and bigger. I started making bigger, like poor choices in life. I started gaining more weight. I got above 200 pounds, pre-diabetic. Like my doctors were worried about me. So you have that choice or you have the choice of change. No matter what you choose, it will be hard.
mhm.
There's no easy way out. If anybody ever said that life is going to be easy, they're lying to you. And it's not supposed to be easy because then the sweet moments wouldn't be sweet. It would just be like mundane every single day. So embrace the hard. I always say that is embrace the hard. Everything that you do is going to be hard. There's some things that are worth the hard and not. So you have to take a step back. Is that friend worth the hard?
Those are
If
hard
they're,
questions, but I think if you can
yeah,
answer that like honestly, and if you need the reassurance from them, have that conversation. I always
yeah,
encourage like clients or just people in general, like who's holding you back, and then
mhm,
do they even know they're holding you back, or are you just
yeah,
afraid to go talk to them? Like I've talked to somebody about like same thing, kind of cutting back on the drinking. Well, that's just what our family does. I understand that, but also you tell me that you want to drink less. You tell me you want to like your actions and your words are different
mhm,
based off of so and so keeps on buying you drinks when you go out. Well,
mhm,
did you ever say like, hey, I'm trying to drink less. Can
mhm.
you just give me a water? Like have that conversation. It's not that hard. Oh, you're like, and then if they say, oh, you're no fun, like what happened to like old you, like used to go nuts. Yeah, cool. Like, well, old me actually, like personal, had extreme amounts of anxiety. Like never felt depression like that since then. Like if you like old me, we hung out at the bar for like 4 hours on like a Friday night. That was for like what 0.2% of the week. Like you weren't in my head the other times, like how bad like I felt about myself or where I was. So like it's not even fair for you to have like words on that to me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
I
uh,
know that we're at the hour, but I do have one more
yeah,
thing that really
yeah,
does help me.
sure.
Like whenever something challenging happens, like I always try to bring logic in there because like our emotions are really important, but it's not always reality. And so whenever I feel really, really emotional, I don't know what decision I need to make. I try to bring in the facts. Right. And so I can bring an example of a client that I was talking about previously. she was really scared. She was like, I know that this relationship may or may not be serving me. And I'm afraid that if I talk to him about this kind of stuff and he doesn't change with me, that I'll lose him. I'll have to completely change my life. Financially, it might be different. I'll have to move. And I was like, okay, great. Let's just bring up the worst case fucking scenario. Let's just bring it up and talk about it. Okay. Worst case scenario. This person, you reach out to them, you want to communicate with them that you want to make the change, you give them the opportunity and they just don't want to. What will happen? You have to break up with him. Okay, great. That's fine. That's going to be challenging, but you're going to mourn that. And you're going to mourn the old identity that you were when you were with that person. But now you're making room for another person that truly is going to serve you. And he's going to have the opportunity to find somebody that makes him happy. So I don't see where the downgrade, like where's the downside of that. And then from there, now you're going to have the ability to make the decisions you want to make and make the life that you want to make and go on adventures that you keep saying that you want to do and finally become the person that you keep saying that you want to do versus if you stay with that person, you're going to be stuck here, bored, making the poor decisions, feeling like you're going down the wrong path. And then from there, okay, finances. Well, you're a smart cookie. You could literally put a post out on Facebook and get 10 people to say, hey, I have a job opening. So that's not a problem. And then she also lives in New York. So I'm like, okay, you live in New York. Literally, that is the place to get roommates. You could literally post on Facebook again and get 15 people that would want to move into with you today. All you have to figure out if they're crazy or not. So logically, what's worse? You staying the same, going down the path that you're going down, or making this change, going through a little bit of adversity, but getting closer to who you are and what you want in life. She's like, oh, fuck. Okay. Like, it's just bringing in logic.
Yeah, I
right?
love that. I was circling back to the very beginning. We were talking about the slow carb diet with Tim Ferriss, the 4-hour body. He does an exercise called fear setting. And he literally like wears the same clothes for a week. He sleeps on the floor. He, camps out, doesn't like eats rice and beans. He's like, no matter how broke I am, I could probably like pander for like $4 and I could probably go buy like a box of minute rice and have like a can of beans. That's like actually enough food for someone for like a day. That's like what, 35 cents for like those if you buy them in somewhat bulk. But he's just like, and then he lives that way. And he's like, all right, well, if this is the worst case, like I'm sure I could find someone's friend, like a friend's floor to sleep on. I can like have the clothes that I have on my back right now. It's really not that bad, right? And then, but do that for your biggest fear. So like what you're talking about, just bring the logic in. He actually goes and lives it, which is a kind of like a fun little experiment to do. Like go, I don't know, get a tent, sleep outside for a month. I don't know. Maybe that's too extreme, but like to have these conversations, bring logic into the conversation so that it's not that quote unquote crazy for these changes to happen anymore. And I think once you like put that like that ray of sunshine on that situation, well, maybe it's almost a no-brainer or like takes all the friction away. Like I need to make this decision. So yeah, thank you. I think that was amazing to touch on everything. I think we accomplished more in an hour than I have on my lives in the past month. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
On that. You're getting a lot of love on the Facebook group. People are loving it.
Good.
Anything else? Any end remarks or anything that you want to talk about?
You know what? Like the big thing that I think that both of us can agree on is that we just want to see you win. That's it. We want to provide resource for you guys. It's like, so if you are in the Facebook group, like use him, ask questions, keep going. Like we all struggle. We all are human. We all struggle with being disciplined or the growth mindset. We all go through this stuff. Like I'm no different than you. He is no different than you. And so we're just here as a community, just trying to help each other. But ultimately, this is what I tell everybody is that you can only help yourself at the end. Right? Like a big reason why I was stuck for so long is because of the fixed mindset. And one of the biggest, like there's different like subgroups of fixed mindset. Mine was I played the victim. Right? Like I played the damsel in distress. Well, here's the thing is nobody's coming to save us. Just like nobody's coming to save me. Nobody's coming to save you, Ryan. There's nobody's coming to save Derek on anybody in the Facebook group. Like nobody's coming to save you. Like we can provide the tools and the resources. We can be the guide, but ultimately it's up to you to be the hero of your own story. But like whenever we watch movies, we're like, yay, the hero, we're so motivated. Like they go through the same turmoil as we do. We go through the same strife as we do, the adversity that we do. And we love that and we overcome that. So like, when you really think about this and you change this, is like, I'm literally just being the hero of my own damn story. This is a movie. I'm in a movie. I'm a character. All of a sudden, it kind of be like, okay, like I want the adversity because that makes my story. Right. And so like, be the hero of your own damn story, create change, but also use your community, use your resources, use Ryan here, and you will win. The only
Yeah,
time that you ever quit is, or the only time that you ever lose is if you ever quit, not when you make a mistake. It's when you quit.
of that. Actually, I've been doing mini challenges in our group the last couple of weeks, and
Yeah.
this week is asking for help. So I don't think there would be a more appropriate thing to watch than watching this live or rewatching it, take all these nuggets away. But one thing that I posted today is like, what is something that is like kind of getting in your way? What's
Mhm.
one conversation that is holding you back? Like, I encourage you guys to go do that. So if you're watching this now and you haven't commented on that post, you don't just say that you did it or that you're thinking about it. Like, let me know that you're on that journey to ultimately getting to where you want to be. And it can be super scary. Like, I know there's so many conversations. It's one reason that I stayed at one of my jobs for 9 years is because I was more afraid of the change than like the little bit of discomfort. And to be honest, like my rock bottom wasn't that bad. Like, it, looking back when I was miserable in my head, like depressed, like not doing everything that I wanted to be and not feeling fulfilled at my job or my place of employment, I had a pretty good job. I made some money. I could like pay all the bills. I had a house. I was comfortable. It wasn't that bad, but like it just ate at me day in and day out. Like, I have to have this conversation. And that's all it is it's a conversation, because then you're gonna get clarity. And once you have clarity, you lose your overwhelm and then you can move forward. And I moved forward into the wrong position before I went to the right position.
Mhm.
But today, where I'm sitting, on this live with Casey Miller, I'm extremely happy. Like, I think that what we're doing, it makes me sleep easier at night when my kids are able to sleep, because all we're doing is like humanizing the fitness and nutrition space, where it doesn't have to be like you have to be all in this plan or all in on working out. Someone once told me, like, Ryan, you're literally trying to get everybody to be as obsessed about your hobbies as you are. And like, you're talking about like people doing your workouts. Well, I love weight training because of the self-confidence that it gave me when I was 13 years old and an undersized, kid. Well, you're probably never going to make that connection. Do I think resistance training is amazing? Yeah. I want you like back squatting 400 pounds? Maybe not. Like, let's just try to figure out where we can meet in the middle so that you can progress on a journey, but like enjoy it and like learn to find the other valuable side of like eating right. Like she was talking about eating your macros. It's like the fastest, most efficient way to do it. And it sucks. A lot of friction. I do the same thing. I live at maintenance based off of like my portion size and whatnot, like 9/12 of the year or whatever,
Mhm.
3/4 of the year. But thank you so much. There's so many
Of
nuggets.
course.
I'm going to go back and rewatch this a few times. If there's anything else that you guys want to find, Casey, her name's Casey Miller, Thriving On. And I
Mhm.
think is your Instagram,
You know, it's
Casey.
just like thriving on Casey and the letters K and a C, like nice and simple, the way I
Perfect.
like it. Yeah. So I'm on there. And yeah, like if you find me and on there, just like DM me. Like everybody's like, but I don't want to bother me. Like freaking love it. Like I love questions. I love it. Like I'm sure that you see this too, is when somebody stands up and asks for help and raise their hand, it is
Yeah.
not bothering us. If anything, we get
Oh,
lit up because like we're like, dude, this person actually really fucking wants it. And that's all we want, is to work with people that know that they deserve this. They
yeah.
have that growth mindset. They're willing to stand up and do something that makes them uncomfortable or challenging. It just makes us happy. So stand up, ask questions, raise your hand. That I love that shit.
And we
Plus, I need
understand
more
exactly.
friends.
Yeah, right. But also, I understand like how uncomfortable it is to like reach out and ask for help. Like,
Mhm.
I couldn't do it. Like, so if you guys do, reach out in our DMs, I understand how vulnerable you may be. And I don't know if I ever come across as like a dick, but I'm
Oh,
excited to,
so much.
like that's
Such an asshole.
that's
Gosh.
exactly what I think people must think. Like, it's cool. Like, this is exactly what, like, for a living, I love helping people. If you ask me a question, like you said, I get excited about it. Like, awesome, another opportunity to help someone move to where they want to be.
Mhm.
It's literally that simple. So if you guys are like hesitant, like reach out to Casey. Um, Same thing. Like, I never thought, like, I thought Instagram was kind of cool because you could just reach out to literally anybody who you follow, and there's these celebrities and whatnot. I reached out to a few people that I like highly respect in the fitness and like space, and they read it and they get back to you, like
Mhm.
sometimes more than often than not. I'm gonna get back to every one of you guys because I'm not a celebrity. I got the time, and I get fired up at it. Like I try to end my day in my DMs just because like that's where I feel like I'm just helping a lot of people. I start my day with all my clients and making sure they get everything that they want, and then I wrap it up in the day with like anybody else. So like if you want to help me, reach out. It makes me feel good. Casey, I'm sure it makes you feel good.
Oh yeah, it fills up my cup so much. I love it. I love
That's
it.
perfect.
So,
All right. Well, we are a little bit over. Thank you guys so
yeah.
much for coming on live, and Derek for being here. Derek, if you have any questions, you can just reach out to me and I'll pass them on to Casey. We didn't get to you at all. Thanks for hanging out the whole time. But without further ado, I'm going to stop the recording.